We have another matchup of this stage of the Final Fantasy Randomizer League. This round, a bunch of head-to-head matches, tonight featuring Sforzand0 and Xarnax. I'm joined tonight by Hyro. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Trenton. I'm really looking forward to this match between Team Roadhouse and Team Dream City. Guess we'll have to see whether Roadhouse wins their fight or gets knocked to Dream Street.
Well, it's a couple of experienced runners who certainly know their way around Final Fantasy Randomizer. There's different challenges in each round, and different challenges in each seed that you have to work your way through. Last night, we happened to see a Ruby required seed. That doesn't happen too often. It certainly can, and how you prepare for that changes everything. The party composition was drafted by our runners before the race started. Sforzand0 opened the draft with the fighter. Xarnax answered with a thief and black belt, and then Sforzand0 decided some magic was in order and went with the red mage.
Yeah, definitely that little bit of starting magic can really help you out, especially with that Garland fight right off the bat.
You're usually going to hope for some AoE sweeping spell, and Fade will do. Except I don't think we get a class change. So we'll have to take Lit 3 for now and hope for Fade later. We saw a little contrast there. Sforzand0 knew that that slot was not learnable and did not check it, but Xarnax wasn't sure. Cost you half a second to check it though, so it's the right play when you don't know.
But thankfully it is in that fourth slot where we will be able to get it if we can find the tail this evening.
So one of the things you want to find out early is how big is the walks on these encounter tables. This first walk to Temple of Fiends is not necessarily your best barometer. Obviously it looks like a great walk to get here, but there's a bunch of free tiles in there that don't move us closer to the next encounter. It's usually not until you're walking to somewhere else that you get a real sense of how long it is. But that said, to make it that far is pretty good.
And we already see our first slight bit of divergence. Sforzand0 goes ahead and checks those two upper chests, while Xarnax heads straight to Garland and wipes him out.
That Silver X is actually it's an okay weapon. It's inferior to the Silver Sword. Just slightly. The Mystic Key is a big pickup from the first item. A crystal to accompany it. Very rewarding oils. And we'll see what that leads to.
And that crystal this early will allow them a chance to route in an earlier Matoya check with 3 chests and that crystal turn in instead of having to decide what to do.
Wow! We follow it up with the canoe.
So we have our first loose item of the seed. Remember, in this flag set, everybody, we will have 3 to 4 items that are incentives that are loose in the world because we don't have enough incentivized locations to hold them all.
It was a fast Garland when you have Lit 3. Doesn't take long. And a good walk to get there as well. So look, bit of money, just a bit, but no heals that we could purchase, no cabins or tents to be cheap save items. Really,
yeah, but those houses
housing,
are really low price though, so that is going to make the use of that Lit 3 spell to get some early levels very convenient.
So after the bridge is one of those places that gives you a real good sense of the walk, but looks like the first encounter is pretty quick, and Sforzand0 might be working off the second encounter, that reset. I love the reset after the credits though, so that you know you don't have to rewatch them if something goes nasty.
Yeah, a save to save those credits, especially if there's something nasty there, can definitely save you a lot of time, especially if it were to wipe you a couple of times in a row.
Now we add the ship to our arsenal. That will enable a little bit faster travel. Got a silver axe, by the way, from the northern segment of Temple of Fiends, so Sforzand0 has a weapon in the fighter's hands. Xarnax will still be looking for one. Ship has a lower encounter rate than walking on land. The speed is actually even when we have dash, so in that regards, the ship can actually be slower. The path is less direct, but less encounters can work in your favor.
And it looks like Sforzand0 has decided just to make the play directly to the pirates, not checking any shops. He just wants to find out what Bicky holds for us this evening.
That's not overly surprising. Guess Team Roadhouse took care of the pirates. And that's the slab. This is actually working out very nicely for routing purposes. It's very directionally friendly. Based on what we have so far, there won't be a lot of doubling back required. Dirt cheap heal potions, only 9 gold each. Cabins only 31 apiece. The support items, really friendly pricing today.
They have rolled usage friendly this evening. That is definitely true in this case. Let's see what the armor shops hold for us.
Chain armor is decent early game support. They also cost nothing, so a little bit of absorb. What locations are incentivized, chat would like to know. It is the Ice Cave and Castle Ordeals, as well as the NPCs. Light magic, we've already seen Fade, so in Viz 2, one of those spells we're on the lookout for. We'll also be watching for the life spells. With the Red Mage, it's not a guarantee you're going to be able to...
And there is Fire 3, so apparently for every magic shop we find, we're going to find an elemental level 3 spell.
We're going to run out of those eventually. So with the canoe, we've got a lot of locations that we can go to. I still like the idea of going to Elfland next, and at least checking out what's in the shops.
Yeah, Elfland can also be beneficial here simply because you've got the key. So you've actually got those 4 chests in Elfland Castle you can check quickly if you felt the need for some more money, or maybe checking to find a weapon or some improvements in your armor.
Yeah, very good points. And hey, the Blue Pirates have cracked, so that's unfortunate. We have a couple key lock locations that they have access to. They could go to Elfland's Treasury, they could Northwest Castle, they could get to really easily canoe, and they could also go to Dwarf Cave.
Yes, they also have the incentivized Circle of Confused Old Men. So we're going to see that in just a minute. Sforzand0 looks like he's making the play towards those confused old men.
Yeah, also checking out the shops, in particular those gold bracelets. Wow, that's cheap. Only 7,000 gold for a bracelet.
Did somebody create a fire sale flag that I was unaware of?
Starting to wonder. So with the confused old men, you don't know which one's going to have the items, so you have to keep talking to all of them until you find one. And it's going to be the crown. And yet again, I would say the routing is working out pretty friendly, because Sforzand0 now only has to go Northwest Castle once.
Yeah, that will give him 3 items, and then we're just getting to see him. An opal gauntlet, a soft, and some gold. So nothing real great as far as just the chests go, but we're also going to get trap tile checks, and neither one of those looks much fun. Perilous and a red anklo. Yikes.
Perilisks require an AoE to take care of. They're usually pretty low HP. It may have been worth 1 or 2, but I can understand taking a pass on it as well. The Opal Gauntlet, though, that's lunch money. Or spell money, if you prefer. Alright, So Sforzand0, having completed Circle Sages, now he heads back to Elfland. He's got some money in the bank. And we'll see what spells we have. Brack is a welcome sight. We've got the AoE magic. Brack is a single target, but it's great for a couple of bosses.
And that was the Thor hammer in Dwarf Cave, so we have some extra options for AoE that won't burn off spell charges.
Pro Ring as well. We have not seen them for sale yet. They will be in one of the shops somewhere. Well, Ice 3 now does cover the gamut of the elemental spells.
And that Dwarf Cave actually is going to give Xarnax a great amount of armor as soon as he gets to Crescent Lake, because he's got plenty of gold for those bracelets now.
So for Sforzand0, I don't see anybody making a return trip to Crescent Lake just for gold bracelets, but once he has the airship, he'll certainly be able to have some there. Just 2 more armor, 3 more shops for possible pro rings. Well, one of them will have pro rings, but we've got Melman, we've got Gaia that we've not seen yet.
And we've got, yeah, Onrak is my guess, but they could definitely be in Gaia or Melmond.
Looks like Sforzand0 wants to Dan the black belt.
And we have a ribbon in the Elf Castle. That's going to be a very helpful find this early on.
So it looks like Sforzand0 wants to 2-man this seed. The poison does its job and takes out the black belt. And Lid 3 does its job and takes out Astos. Which ends up being really nice levels. The 2-man strats are very interesting. We've seen that come up a lot in this league. The premise of it being you can get this party to a much higher level than you would a full team. If you're running 4 people, the 2 people, basically it's like doubling your experience.
Yeah, it's definitely a fast leveling if you can find a place to do it. I do wonder about how early Sforzand0 has gone this route, because if we find something that does have a fairly ugly skill list in some place like an incentivized ice cave, he could get blocked if he's not high enough level.
It's possible he does know where those Paralisks are, could get something done there. With sleep, they're not really friendly. Xarnax is probably going to have to make the same play that Sforzand0 has already made and go to Crescent Lake. We don't have our ability opened up to explore the world, and we have plenty of options though. We've got the Marsh Cave, the Volcano, and the Ice Cave.
And with a floater hunt or a canal hunt, which is what we're basically in now to open up the world, I'd be very tempted to see how bad that ice cave is with that incentivized item down there.
Question in chat if perhaps Sforzand0 wants to not level the black belt until after class change. That's actually the other way around. If you're going to level the black belt, you do it before class change, so he gets the benefit of the magic defense. Sforzand0 be brave enough? It doesn't look like he is, but one consideration you could make with this walk we have is diving the Marsh Cave and getting to those pretty easily. Also, his levels are very good Marsh Cave levels, so there was potential that could work out. However, I do think with the incentive location being Ice Cave, that's got to be the priority.
Yeah, Marsh is one of those locations that for our runners in this season of the league, it has been avoided like the plague in many, many cases. People just don't care for diving it unless they're almost forced to.
You have two. No one wants to go Marsh Cave, so that leaves you with two other options. You can either do the volcano, which that second floor has a lot of treasure available, or you can do the Ice Cave, which has the incentive item. Ice Cave is kind of more preferred if you have the warp spell, however.
And
but it looks like we will get that.
And we do know warp is at level 6, but a red mage does not have access to that at this point, I do not believe.
One thing we've touched the topic but not dealt with it too much is the trap tile shuffle in effect. The formations we will find on these trap tiles have been randomized. Well, they've been shuffled, so they're going to be from something in the game, but what it is, we're not sure just yet. But when you see what's on a trap tile, like the Spire trap tiles we're about to see on Sforzand0's side, it's going to place the fight 1-to-1. So if we see one giant in this fight, it's going to be one giant every time we see the fight. And that's going to be very ugly to see on this tile. How do you like your lobster?
Apparently charbroiled.
Nuke it from outer space, it's the only way to be sure.
And with that lit 3 in that level 1 spell slot, and those trolls not rolling especially high on the HP, this could be one where you could grab a couple of levels if you were willing to risk it, but I'm not sure our runners are really going to love testing that seafood party platter out for very long.
He unfortunately had the Thor hammer on the knight instead of the red mage, so wasn't able to use it there. Tried to use Brack to make up the difference, but it resisted.
And the Hydra's giving Xarnax some trouble. There's a wipe to those Hydras.
They have a tendency to be hard-hitting. They're not that friendly for experience either, so it's generally one of those encounters you just want to avoid as much as you can. These Peats, however, are a great source of experience. As long as you can kill them before they kill you.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't roll a terrible amount of HP. About 190 killed one there in that first lit 3 charge that I saw. So we're not dealing with overly beefy Peds. But we do look like we're having dueling 2-man strategies. However, we have Sforzand0 with a fighter as his main melee damage dealer. And Xarnax is going with a black belt. What are you thinking, Trenton? You thinking the fighter's going to be the one to work out, or is that black belt with the lower equipment needs going to be the way to go this seed?
I think it has a lot to do with the weapon you find. If you find that big weapon for the fighter, you need lower levels than you need for the black belt to excel. If you're going to do 2 party members, 32 is not at all reasonable a level to get to, so you can get very big hits out of that black belt and be much less dependent on finding something like the power gun. So both strategies have their strengths. And as chat points out, Sforzand0 picked up a dragon sword, which is not an unwelcome sight at this point. Triple Frost Dragon. They can be easy to kill, but often or not. Pair of silver helmets in this room as well. But the Peats just keep on coming in this volcano. What's ironic is I think that's exactly what Xarnax was looking for outside Crescent Lake. And Sforzand0 has them aplenty in the volcano.
Didn't look like we got much of overall value coming out of that volcano armory, though. We got a wizard staff, some gold, and not really a lot else that's earth-shattering for this run.
The silver helmets aren't an exciting pickup, but they're actually a very solid. They're good absorb on the helmet spot. If you're lacking for a ribbon, or in this case 2 ribbons, then the silver is going to be a good hold you over until you have something better. Other than that, I think you just got stuff for money, and probably pretty good on money at this point. Worth noting, by the way, since we haven't mentioned this, the stats on these enemies and also the bosses is 50% to 200, so things like HP can roll anywhere in that range.
Yeah, with that, I was actually a little surprised that Sforzand0 didn't at least throw a cast out at those frost dragons and see if he got them in a weakened state to make them a little easier to grind, but he took his first turn run and just kept clearing out the armory chests.
Well, they're not great experience. If you're hunting experience right now, best source is actually the random peats. They're just so plentiful in the random encounters that you can get all of that you'd like. And I think Sforzand0 really already has between his 2 dives.
Yeah, definitely. He hit 15, saved, cleared out what little was remaining, and looks like he's headed deeper in, looking to clear out some chests and light his first orb.
There's also more fights as you go through here, so 16 to 18 range seems very reasonable well before you get to carry. What I wonder is if he'll risk the fire giant chest with just the 2 party members. It's a little bit more risky when you're down on members. Those red hydras, though, tend to be pretty easy. They're kind of a low HP to start with. So they're one you might want to investigate just how easily they go down.
And it looks like Xarnax has decided that the seafood tastes good. He's grinding his way right through those trolls and lobsters.
I can't argue with that, but this is actually, I would say, the wrong place to be doing it at. This is the same encounter that you would get down at that first treasure chest you get to when you come in, but there's no off-tile encounters on that one, whereas you will eventually get one here. What a room for Sforzand0 finding the white shirt and a ribbon. Although equipping it to Artie is not that helpful.
Yeah, but that definitely gives us all the elemental protection we could hope for early on, because with only 2 party members, we're already fully covered.
Wow! The Agama trap tile is a 3 to 4 Agama trap tile. This is a monumental amount of experience available on this trap tile. I mean, it's... depending on how much HP they have, this is just a phenomenal one. The Agamas are worth... they're like halfway on the experience chart game, but you multiply that by 3 to 4, and that's pretty high.
Yep, and based on that fight there, it looks like they rolled somewhere in the neighborhood of 85 to 115%. So they didn't roll horrible, so they're definitely one that is an option for a grind this deep in the volcano. I'm not sure they're going to love that, though.
Your biggest question right now is how much resources would it take to kill an encounter? And what Sforzand0 is unfortunately looking at is he doesn't really have the resources to do that efficiently. He'd have to use spell charges, he can't just melee it. And he wants those spell charges for carry. Speaking of single giants on the trap tile, didn't I mention something about that sooner? I like this. Now he is taking advantage of the Agama trap tiles since this is his last trap tile fight. And
yeah, he had
probably gonna be
3
ripping
charges.
them.
Looked like he still had 3 charges in his Ice 3 slot available in addition to some Lit 3s, so he decided that he had enough spell charges left over. He could take it without too much threat and get himself some more XP.
I think he's actually probably going to rely more on Brack. Carry. Try and Wizard Staff first to keep her confused, see if she'll even kill herself. Not be unwelcome, but Brack probably going to do more than the elemental spells.
Oh, and those Frost Dragons are giving Xarnax some trouble. Oh, that's a wipe. They got him. They got both of them.
What's interesting is he trying to do this with just the red mage. I'm surprised he saved with just the red mage, is what I'm saying. So now he's going to have to go back to Crescent Lake to revive the Black Belt. And that's going to be a very unfortunate loss of time. Sforzand0's going to take the chance here against Carry. Has walls, so that'll make up for not having a second ribbon. And I guess we didn't really need the red mage after all. We hold A to win from here. The damage is okay. If Carry doesn't do crazy things, this is still very doable. She's got a long spell and ability list, which is actually really good news right now, because it's keeping us away from bad stuff. She hits pretty hard, so we don't want to see another physical attack. Unfortunately, this is probably just not gonna work. Oh, it did!
Wow, right there with the fighter down to one knee. Oh my.
I have often said heal as soon as you finish a fight like that, or else you're just asking for another encounter. Sforzand0's able to get out of there with the first orb restored. One is all you need, right?
Wow, that spell and skill list really helped out. There was a dark, a sleep, a hold. Carry wasted so many turns there that gave Sforzand0 just enough time to get her to go down.
And it proved invaluable that Sforzand0 cast that wall. Red Mage, he would not have survived that fight otherwise. The extra magic defense that it gave, if nothing else, it limited the fire damage that it took, and so it was so valuable to have that go off. He's also got plenty of money now, so gonna be able to buy basically anything.
Yep, looks like he's capping out his heals so that he doesn't have to worry about anything the next time he dives into a dungeon, and I would guess we're probably going to see that ice cave dive now.
Question in chat, what is the blue screen on Sforzand0's side? That is when he's doing a reset that shows up. He's doing a hard reset, which is power on, power off. Alright, so Sforzand0 now basically has to go Ice Cave and towards that incentive location. Unless he's going to go back to the Agamas for some reason.
Yeah, the incentivized ice cave looks like the play here, because really the only other place he has available for progression right now would be if he dove marsh looking for something in just a loose floating chest. And with that incentivized location there, I don't see that happening.
Unless we're in marsh, this is right play towards progression. He definitely got what he wanted out of the volcano. Not only did he get a bunch of good treasure, starting with that ribbon, but he got a bunch of levels. And that is what the two-man strats is designed to do. You channel the levels into that party, not only for the late game, but for the early game. You're getting them leveled up faster, making them that much more durable to get through these things.
Yep. Just to recap, while we're headed down to the important sections of Ice Mage, the king has given us the key, the princess gave us the crystal, we went and gave Matoya her sight back and we're given the ship, Bicky gave us the slab, Sages gave us the crown, and we are now diving towards that incentivized ice cave.
And the volcano gave us an agama tile, which was really kind to Sforzand0's levels. It also gave us a ribbon and the white shirt. So some good utility there.
And currently we have found one of our likely 3 loose items. That was the canoe in Locked Corneria.
So the ice cave is one of those places where you never know how much you're going to get ambushed, how much you're going to be facing skills. There's a lot more encounters here than Volcano. And there's a pro ring, so now Sforzand already had enough, he doesn't have to buy any. And it looks like these mages are pretty low on the HP side, but Silver Axe took care of business.
Yeah, the game is definitely handing us out plenty of armor. We've got the bargain basement gold rings in the armor shop in Crescent Lake. We're getting pro rings out of regular treasure chests. We've got our ribbons covered. This seed is really making sure we're defensed up. It's just not being quite as pleasant on the weapon front.
That's not bad with the frost wolves on that tile. That might be something you take advantage of if you have some surplus fire 3 charges when you're leaving. You could potentially grab some stuff there. Oh, these nachos. Wow. Just good experience after good experience. And we really haven't seen a lot of ugliness out of the spells and abilities from our encounters yet.
The nachos are hitting fairly hard and they are not wanting to die, so we're going to have to wait a second to see how this is going to work out.
Yeah, it looks like their magic defense is pretty high. I think Sforzand0 was really testing the waters with them, and they just end up hitting too hard, having too much magic defense. They're not taking any damage there. But Runner high five, they're in the same room. Katana's not going to do us any good. Well, actually, we do have Thief you could revive late game if you wanted to, and Katana is the best weapon-specific sword in the game.
Yep, and there's
class-specific weapon in the game.
And Sforzand0 has come across some unrunnable red bones.
The good news is they're usually not terrible. And it looks like they're just kind of annoying, but not terrible. Okay.
Yeah, that fire 3 charge was enough to wipe the majority of them out, so that actually works out not terribly badly as far as unrunnables go.
The sorcerers make you glad you're playing Randomizer, because they're one enemy that is almost always better in Randomizer than in vanilla. Oh, there's a gold bracelet we don't have to buy. Stun-touching cremate. This is a bit of an ugly encounter, but this shows the benefit of doing the 2-man strats here. You've got more HP and more magic defense for these 2 light warriors here. This has actually hurt a lot with lower level party members. And they are giving that fighter the business.
Now that stun touch is just knocking him around. Keeps putting him back down onto his knees and he's not able to do anything.
And he is through it, so good to be done with that. That was just a rough one. He tried to run away, which the encounter really wasn't worth his time, so it makes sense to try and run away, but he couldn't get away. So then if he hadn't started trying to kill it when he did, his fighter would have been down. Chad asks about the numbers that are displayed. It has to do with their scoring the current league, so I believe in cases that are negative numbers, so they're very good numbers. I'm not sure. I can't explain the system, I just know it works out that the faster you finish versus the field, the better your score. Catmen are going to guard the incentive chest. Not too late to get your picks in, chat. What do you think is in here? Is it the easy way out? Is it the floater? Is it TNT? Or is it something super trolly like the Ruby? It's the canal.
We are now very likely to see a lot of ship travel because we've got that canal to open our way over into the rest of the world.
That is not what runners were hoping for. One of them decided to take advantage of the prospers. Like I said, it was on a tile where basically free. You're not going to get any of those off-tile encounters, and if you had surplus fire 3s, you could just kill 1 or 2 packs of them. Actually, an interesting point is on Xarnax's side. He's got to go finish the volcano. I don't think he'll leave this part of the follow the canal without completing the volcano first. He's actually going to be in better shape when he gets to the 3 Akima tile as Sforzand0 was. Maybe that leads to higher levels. What do you think? Would you grind for higher levels? Would you just stick with the get 'em as I go strategy?
Well, that really boils down, I think, to, in this case, the fact that it's a black belt for his main damage dealer. The faster he gets that black belt up to that 32 threshold, the faster he's going to be able to just punch everything down, especially the bosses, and it will lead to him being a little bit accelerated later in the game. So I could definitely see him taking that Agama tile if he feels comfortable with their HP and the speed at which they're dying, that he could really run that up in a hurry.
Chad asks if there's any nasty enemy skills early. Pretty much the nastiest we saw was that formation of the Catmen and Man-Cats, whatever they are, with Medusas, because there was Stun Touch on one and Cremate on the other, so that was pretty annoying. Probably about the worst we've seen so far.
Yeah, that combination was the worst. Carrie could have been bad with the sleeps and stuns if she had been attempted at lower levels, but at the levels these guys are seeing her, they're not going to have any trouble.
Up to see Melman, which we no longer need Pro Rings, but it's kind of the last... This is a half-useful magic shop, really. This is where spell charges fall off considerably. It's not as valuable. But you still get a decent number of charges. It also might be worth it to check the weapon shop. Silver swords, since we still actually don't have better than that. Fast, Temper, and Cure 4 all on the same level. That's really unfortunate.
And Xarnax is back reviving that black belt again. He's having trouble keeping that black belt alive.
Well, sometimes it's difficult to get started. And see, endgame black belt really shines. They can just tear through things. Early game, it can be a little rough. They just don't have the defense.
And it looks like Xarnax has decided that with that canal, he's going to attempt to follow the progression chain and continue on to find potentially the floater somewhere else. He has skipped the volcano for now.
It's an interesting choice, but he can also get back to the volcano very easily from the other side. So it's not like it's gone down a one-way street or anything. He's going to be able to get back there pretty quickly when he needs to. And in this case, we know that floater is not there, so it still holds up. to work well for him. Sforzand0's gone for the Castle of Ordeals. Why might he be choosing that?
Well, Castle of Ordeals with this Stage 5 set of flags is our other incentivized location. That chest that used to hold the tail is now going to hold one of our incentivized items, but we aren't sure what that will be.
This is an interesting dungeon. We have shuffled pillars, so you don't know which one's going to lead you to where, but you're only choosing 4 times. So once you have learned the correct path through Castle Ordeals, it's very short. And with the encounter table we have, you might even be able to get through the majority of it on 1 or no encounters.
Oh, we're probably going to have to take a couple. It looks like the 4-pillar option room is the farthest pillar to the back.
That's unfortunate. You're usually hoping that's going to be the first one you come to. It's just the most chances for things to go wrong. Couple zombies there.
This poor black belt just cannot stay alive, Trent. That is 3 times I've seen it go down in just the last little bit.
Did he get the opal bracelet? Is what I'm starting to wonder, because there was one right before you did the warp tile down to the eye chest, the incentive chest at Castle Ordeals, so he should have picked that up and have that defense for his black belt. He should also have a ring, which together that's a very decent amount of absorb.
Yeah, I believe he got it, but I don't know what has been going on with this poor black belt. It is just like a magnet for everything, this seed.
Looks like it's doing fine defensively against the zombies. So this is probably going to be a pretty welcome sight. It's just kind of interesting how differently a seed can go for 2 different peoples. Sforzand0 really hasn't seen a lot of bad damage against his knight, except Carrie. Carrie really was the worst hitter. The nachos weren't great either. And Sforzand0 is through the maze. Just arachnids on the nightmare trap tile. There's one more trap tile in Castle Ordeals. It's right at the exit. What do you think we're getting here?
I guess I always hope for it to be in the ultimate level of trolly, so I really want to see something odd like the TNT come out of this chest.
I think I'm going to go Oxyel for my guess. Which also reminds me that I believe we've not yet seen the vendor item. So that's got Gaia and Anrak remaining, as well as the Oasis. We can get to 2 of those 3 locations. And it's going to be the herb. Get some ice armor for a little bit better defense for that night.
And it's a water trap tile that we decide to run away from for Sforzand0.
Yeah, they tend to be one of the more annoying late game enemies, so not unreasonable at all to nope out of that fight. Now what I wonder is, does he go straight towards turning in the herb? Does he swing over to Anrak to check the vendor item? He's also got access, by the way, to the waterfall. That is not a potential location.
It definitely looks like he's going to go back up to turn in that herb right away to see if he can find that floater. It looks like any chance he's got to get that floater as fast as possible, he's going to take.
Well, I was half right.
Absolutely, that herb in Ordeals led straight to that Oxyale.
It just was indirect, pal. But the good news is that's also 2 more items to give a 5% experience boost, so the more of those you're getting, the more it's helping you level up as you go through this game. The dynamics of that experience bonus have been very interesting to play out. Our base modifier is not that high, only 2.4% of vanilla experience. Normally that wouldn't be enough for the black belt to be a viable option. That doesn't usually come in until like 3 times experience. But you're talking closer to 4.5 times experience by the end of the game, which has proven it can make the black belt viable.
Yep, and Xarnax still attempting to navigate his way through those shuffled columns there in Castle Ordeals. And it looks like we are getting the on-rack play, and potentially the rest of the checks in this area from Sforzand0.
Yeah, I think you hit on-rack first to check for vendor item and not go all.
With this
to Oasis.
Yeah.
Out of the way.
Yeah, with this encounter table, if he knew he had that long run there, the Oasis does make some sense.
You will not get it, but it's a good shop, actually.
With this gold level, I think our runners have pretty much capped out what they need as far as purchasing heals and save items. So I'm not sure there'll be a whole lot of purchasing from a shop unless we see a real ugly dungeon here that requires a lot of potion usage.
2 party members and kind of lacking for the cure spells. So yeah, I think we will see some potions purchased along the course of the seed, but with heal potions only 9 gold each, it's 1,000 gold to be full on heal potions from scratch. So money is no object for the rest of this season.
Yeah, this has definitely been the everything must go seed. Every shop that we have seen seems to be very, very low on the expense side of things for our runners this evening.
The lowest you can get is 25% under these flags. A lot of things have been going towards the lower side instead of the higher ones. Well, that is an encounter tile. Of all the encounter tiles, that is one of them. Looks like the vampires are really low experience. That's good news.
Wow, the vampire rolled less than 100 HP. That's going to be very good news if they decide to take this trap tile for a couple of quick grabs for 7,000 XP per character.
You have to fight it on your way out, so we get the chime. Flame Shield is a great find. Now he's got Ice Armor, Flame Shield, so he's stacking the 2 different elements for resistances, which without a ribbon is very good news.
Well, I believe that our runners have reason for concern, Trenton. It looks like with the setup we have now, that floater is very likely to be loose.
Well, that's an interesting question. Do we have anything we haven't turned in yet?
Well, currently we can't get to Sarda, and with our item shop checks, the vendor item will have to be in Gaia, which we can't get to without the airship. So either we're going to find a loose ruby that gets us to Sarda, or it appears we're going to have a loose floater itself.
Very interesting. And of course, with the bottle, it also is not. We're not able to turn that in without without the airship. We can get to Mirage, but can't complete it without the cube.
So it looks like our runners are going to be faced with a very, very vital decision. Do you go someplace like Sea Shrine with the Oxyale that we have? Do you take a look in those early levels of Mirage Tower before the cube is needed? places like the greater than less than room. That's great chest density. What are you thinking, Trenton?
We're right here for Sea Shrine. I think you go into the mermaid side. I feel like that's the first play.
Another very chest dense location.
For Xarnax, I think the biggest hurdle to get to with that black belt is 21. Once you get the damage bonus at 21, you should roll through most things pretty routinely after that. And I believe he is past that point now. You know, the other thing we haven't actually done is check all of the key-locked treasure chests. We've seen Corneria, we've seen Elfland, we've not seen...
We've seen Northwest Castle.
We've not seen the 3 at Temple of Fiends Revisited. Did we even... I think we did see Dwarf.
Yes, we've seen Dwarf, we saw Northwest Castle. Our remaining key-locked options at this point would be actually the one chest in Sea Shrine we will have the key, and then the Marsh Cave and Temple of Fiends chests.
So a few options there that could troll you. They could also troll you to have things be in Earth Cave. Sforzand0's actually right next to this chest that is in fact key-locked. A lot of people don't realize it because you can't be here without the key in the vanilla game, just the Wear Sword. But that room is locked by the Mystic Key.
And there is Xarnax finally going back to see that poor old king and find out it's actually Astos.
Well, the ghosts are unrunnable, but that actually looks to be pretty good. They did lit the one's attack we saw, and their HP is pretty low. So with them being unrunnable, they can't ambush. Squint's a little more ugly. But they're not hitting, and they're one of the highest damage hitting enemies in the game. So that's pretty tame for them in this scene. But we do seem to be getting a fair number of them. By fair, I mean way too much.
And Sforzand0 is already up to level 25, so he's headed for a point where he will become much more comfortable running through these dungeons and not being concerned about his utility items running out.
This is a big encounter. Those big eyes are worth quite a lot of experience. A restreamer Edgeworth likes to call them the EXP Pinata.
The Grey Sharks are not an XP slouch either, so this is a very good fight to take.
So 4,700 from just 2 of them, and I think that's equivalent to what he was getting from 6 ghosts. Just kind of shows the contrast. Also, they tend to hit much less hard than ghosts. While we're thanking people, let's also thank our tracker tonight, Ron Ulysses. Greatly appreciate it, and greatly appreciate all of you who've decided to spend part of your evenings.
Oh, that was a very smart play there. Xarnax saved, ran all the way to the caravan, found out it was nothing, and reset clear back down towards his ship. Saves him several seconds worth of running right there.
Our runners have been showing off a lot of skill with the reset strats. Once you have a gap in that encounter table, you can take a lot of advantage of it. Zeus Gauntlet is something probably too good to pass up on, but not really something Sforzand0's in a position to use right now. You could theoretically do it instead of the white shirt random encounters and then swap it back with the white shirt bosses, but that also relies on you remembering to do things. In other words, I wouldn't do it. But someone with a memory better than me, that'd be an option.
Yep, definitely gives you that option to have the Thor hammer on one character and the Zeus gauntlet on the other to give you that better AoE clear if you feel you need it going through these dungeons.
We've got a nice sighting of the ever-friendly out-of-bounds bat on Xarnax's side, and 2 wizard mummies. That was actually not bad. Yeah, Zeus Gauntlet seemed to be the highlight of what we found on the mermaid side, so not that much, but still, this has been a pretty rewarding trip through Sea Shrine so far. Gotta figure Sforzand0's gonna leave, go to the inn, restore all those magic points, and save the levels. Xarnax's about to get the news that it's the Chime. Excellent point in chat that Sforzand0 is still using, almost an hour later, that silver axe he picked up at Temple of Beans. So
Yep.
Weapons Edge, I would actually say that goes to Xarnax, because not needing the weapon. Black Belt at 21, he's certainly already out damaging the knight.
Yeah, the weapons have definitely been few and far between at this point. We have seen the Bane Sword out of Waterfall, but we haven't had a whole lot of need for Bane strats at this point, so we'll have to see if that comes into play later.
We've also seen Thor's Hammer and Zeus Gauntlet, so a little bit of utility there. No Mage Staff yet, so no source of the fire item, but you can get all 3 elements. If you don't have equipment randomization on, you can get Light 2 from the Thor's Hammer, you can get Ice 2 from the Black Shirt, and you can get Fire 2 from the Mage Staff. Any of those very useful to have early on Seed.
Wow, Sforzand0 deciding he doesn't even need to take the XP pinata. That big eye showed up again and he just left it behind.
I think now he's a little bit worried about conserving spell charges, getting to Kraken. Was that the same level as Brack, or were those on different? No, Lit 3 is on level 1, so that's not Brack.
Yeah, Lit 3 was that right off the bat good thing for nuking Garland down with, so. Brack, I believe, came out at either level 3 or level 4 down in Elfland. Yep, level 3 in Elfland was Brack.
Okay. I'll be curious if he moves the white shirt, the Kraken fight, as odd as this may sound, put it in place of the silver helmet on the knight, so that the red mage is freed up to cast Brack. Brack is reasonably effective against this.
And there we have an Aegis shield, so if we can find a tail this evening, that knight is going to have the best shield he can have.
Yeah, it's equal defense to the Opal shield, but better resistances.
That Thor's Hammer doing work for Xarnax, clearing out all those red Sahags.
It's just one of the best extra items to have, that weapon that can do the AoE magic. It just can really help in a lot of situations, just clean up a mess.
Yeah, it's also great for these long runs, especially in these party strats of 2 and 3 man parties, where the magic is so much more in demand later that you can save all those spell charges.
The Shadow's also unrunnable, but apparently low enough morale, they're starting to run away. That's good news. Light Axe is also good news, because that is a free harm 2 which will be even better than Lit 2 against all these undead. And actually, he should equip the Light Axe. I do believe that is an upgrade from the Silver Axe.
He's actually got a silver sword on there, it looked like.
No, that's the Silver Axe from Temple of Fiends. Pretty sure. Maybe I missed him purchase one, but I don't think we've seen him for sale in a shop. Copper bracelet, a little bit of money. Trap tile is the Emerald of Shadows. I didn't get a good enough look there to confirm.
All the undead are just not going to allow you to get away from them tonight.
It's not as bad as it sounds, because that makes them unable to ambush. And also when they're not doing anything scary, that's when you mind something being unrunnable a lot less. I mean, those are among the nicest ghosts I've ever seen in the Randomizer. Especially for as frequently as we've seen them. So that is a full clear treasure-wise of this sea shrine. No floater, no ruby, no ability to progress from anything we obtained here. We still have the chance to restore our second orb.
I look forward to seeing the route that Sforzand0 takes for this Kraken fight. Does he attempt to use his fighter to swing with those levels, or does he decide to go with the Brack strats from the mage?
I think it's based on who's holding the white shirt. Okay, that tells me it's gonna be Brack strats. And I like that a lot. Oh, he's doing a wall too. Okay, fair enough. So the Invis 2 lets you get up the defense to avoid Kraken's hits. Well, he's actually going to stack the Invis 2s from the mage. That's interesting, but it's caused him to take 2 rounds worth of damage already from these hits. Now comes out Brack.
And it looks like once the fighter gets... Wow, first Brack hits. Brack, and Kraken is gone.
Well, if you've never seen Brack strats, now you understand why they're so powerful. It's not 100% by any means. I think it's something like 20 to 25% to work on Kraken 1. But, you know, he had 3 turns there, so if you say if it's 20%, then that's still a majority chance. If it's 75%, it's that much better to Brack to work in that time span, so it's a good strat. So do you sail to Mirage? Do you go back to Earth Cave not being able to full clear it? Do you go to the Marsh Cave being able to full clear it?
Well, at this point, with the possible locations for that floater, I don't think I would go Earth Cave, just because there's such an extreme likelihood that you're going to find the ruby somewhere, and if you can route the Earth Cave, the ruby turn-in, and Sarda all in one run, it's going to save you a significant amount of time going back and forth, especially in the ship.
Comes back to Northwest Castle. I think he already checked. Oh, this is Marsh Cave.
This is a marsh dive. We are going to get a marsh play, it looks like. If this marsh is empty, Xarnax may be able to catch himself up a little bit if he were to go do something like Mirage Tower on the back of this and find himself that floater.
On the other hand, if Sforzand0 finds a floater down here, how long would it take Xarnax to come this direction? So, it's definitely a risk-reward play. It's got the potential to work out.
Yeah, with the chance of the so many different quest turn-ins leading there that we have remaining, it's definitely got a chance. Because really the one that we're left with is that ruby, and we've got a chance there to lead us both to Earth Cave and Sarda, so I would love this if he finds a ruby.
Ruby or something else of good utility, like that Masamune be here. The Sun Sword is here. That is a very welcome sight. We don't need no Silver X. We got a Sun Sword. Not the one you're picking out and hoping for at the start of a seed, but right now it's a very welcome sight.
Absolutely. That puts that fighter back to where he's at least got a chance to hold his own.
It's also got bonus damage versus undead, so there's a few opportunities for that to benefit you as well. You wish you had exit here, but you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. But that Sun Sword is something he's definitely going to be willing to take the time to make the walk back to keep it.
I think earlier in the seed he might not have, just being that it's taken so long to get any upgrade has probably biased the sword to look a little bit better. Also, I don't think he was quite anticipating this many encounters on the way out. Looks like Xarnax is having some trouble getting through the Sea Shrine, though.
He made it through the mermaids, but he was very slow getting back out because he kept getting that Wiz-Sahog fight, and he just had to keep bullying his way through it with that Thor hammer.
Thought he was actually working through the crack inside. The other noteworthy thing about the Sun Sword is that the Red Mage can equip it. So, even though it's a fighter weapon right now, it could be one that finds its way into the hands of the Red Mage later.
Yes, that could definitely make a difference later if we find something like the X-Cal that the fighter can use, and we can have that Red Mage at least have an option for a melee swing if we run into serious trouble somewhere down the line.
This is interesting to route. I have no idea what my route through here is with the Mystic Key, because I've been in that situation so few times where I'm one-shotting this dungeon with Mystic Key.
Yeah, I think you probably go down the left-hand side and then run the bottom and then come up the right side, because you do have that lone chest up in that far upper right corner that you can go get after you do that bottom row of key lock chests. I don't know as it's the most efficient, but off the top of my head, that's the route I would be most likely to take.
4 zombies on this trap tile. They seem to be a little bit high on the HP side in this seed. But looks like 2 light axes and a fire 3 is, well, not quite enough.
Yeah.
2 fire 3s.
Wow.
In fact, 1 still lived. Wow, they are high on it.
Well, there was some pretty low. There was a lot of low rolls on that particular Zombo too. I think one of the light axes rolled like 3 points above minimum, so he got pretty unlucky there too.
That could be a case of their magic defense is really high, so it makes the spells look worse. I may be guilty sometimes of not paying as much attention to the damage numbers as the number of spell charges, so if it's taking me 2 spells to kill something, that's a lot. Pro Cape is going to be good on the armor side for Red Mage, and give me a moment, I will be right back.
Alright, well, while we are waiting to see what else we can get out of Marsh Cave, let's see. We've got a recap here. The king gave us the key, the princess gave us the crystal, Matoya gave us the ship, Bicky handed over the slab after we slaughtered his pirate buddies, the sages gave us the crown, Astos gave us the bottle. We do not know what the vendor item yet is, but we do know it is in Gaia. We have found the canoe loose in Corneria locked chests. Ice Cave held the canal to allow us out of the inner sea. Ordeals gave us the herb, which led us to turn into the prince for the Oxy Ale. And the robot in Waterfall held the chime. So the big thing we're hunting is the floater, folks.
Floater would open up the rest of the world, but it's not technically required. Now, we would still have to have some other path that gave us the cube and loot at this point.
We're also missing the rod, so I think we're to a point where we are going to have to check Gaia, because at least one of the items is almost going to have to be there. We don't have enough other incentive and loose items to get us where we need.
There was the mage staff hanging out here in the marsh cave. Unfortunate that it's that late. It's a great one early on. I'd actually take it over the light axe. They're both level 2 spells, but the mage staff is fire 2, and undead actually have a vulnerability to fire. They do not to the harm spells. So, well, it doesn't matter because Sforzand0 just resets out of there. Nothing in the marsh cave.
Wow, so with locked marsh cleared on top of everything else, we are looking at the potential of requiring a double dip into Mirage Sky.
Or possibly the double dip to Earth.
Yes.
That would be the closest thing to him right now.
Yep, those look like our two most chest-dense options anyway.
Yeah, I would like the play of checking Temple of Fiends first. See if that's what Sforzand0 does from here.
Yeah, with a stop in Corneria, I think those 3 chests in Temple of Fiends have a pretty good chance of getting checked here. And that looks like exactly what we're going to get. We're going to get a Temple of Fiends locked chest check along with that trap tile.
It would be the same trap tile in both rooms. Theoretically, I'd fight it 3 times. Well, that's not the most friendly trap tile in the game. But still, they don't have Death Touch, so there's that. If you ever thought Death Touch was so broken in the vanilla game, you're actually right. It was bugged and didn't work right. One of the things Randomizer does is a lot of bug fixes, and it makes Death Touch a little less powerful in the Randomizer than it was in the vanilla game, just because of how the code was handling things.
Alright, Xarnax closing in on the bottom areas of that sea shrine, headed for that Kraken fight. And we're going to have to see what these last 2 chests in Temple of Fiends are.
Fortunately, you have to do this fight twice to take it out of here. But if this doesn't prove to be anything, he'll just reset back to the ship. So, the first floor of Earth Cave would be a really easy check with this encounter table. He'd be able to get to all of the first floor pretty easily. And nothing in Temple of Fiends. And after that, you'd think he's down to Mirage.
Yeah, I think this becomes a question of which dungeon do you want to double dip? Is it a Mirage double dip for the very high chest density in those first 2 levels? Or is it just an Earth Cave because you're already right here?
I think not only that you're right here, but that if it happens to be something like the Ruby or Floater, you're actually closer to where you need to go if it turns out to be here. So, for the on average play, I think it works out better to check Earth first.
Yeah, by process of elimination, you definitely know you're down to just a few things that can really lead you anywhere, and you know that 2 of the most likely ones are a direct floater and a ruby leading you to Sarda for the floater. So that is definitely something that can be taken in. Oh my, that's a consideration, but there is the 3rd ribbon of the seed in the Earth Cave.
obviously not as valuable with just the two-man party, but there's a point at which he will probably revive a third to have as a shield in Temple of Fiends Revisited, and being able to stick the ribbon on them is a good thing for magic defense.
Yep, that would be one thing, but I also do not believe Sforzand0 had both ribbons from earlier in the game. I believe he skipped one of those locations. That red mage really took a hit there. He's gonna need to be careful on that Kraken fighter. Xarnax is gonna have a problem.
Well, unfortunately no red mage means no Brack. And we have no idea how much HP this Kraken has because Sforzand0 didn't need to deal damage. But that did not work out, unfortunately. I don't mind this, not finding the key item and no good spot to level up that black belt more. It does actually, in my opinion, make more sense to leave.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't know where I would go with him. You haven't gone through the entire volcano yet, so you don't know what's down at the bottom of the volcano. You haven't touched Mirage or Earth Cave. He's got a major decision to make here. He's got so many dungeons he hasn't gone through yet.
I would actually like the play to Mirage first. That may sound odd, but here's the thing. You've got the Chime, it's a forced double dip if it works for you, so your opponent is less likely to do a double dip strategy. There's no river there, unfortunately, Xarnax. You can't get to Lefane. Our tracker Romulus also points out there's Mirage for the EXP. That's a good thing as well. How close it is to you is also good.
I think actually probably the biggest thing that would send me to Mirage at this point is I would be an hour and 15 minutes into this run and I have not lit an orb yet, so I would be feeling extremely behind and looking for a play that I feel is unusual enough that it could give me some catch-up potential.
There's the Masamune. We find it in the Earth Cave. So perhaps a good thing that Sforzand0 had to dig, or else we'd not find that there.
Yeah, that Masamune really is going to light that fighter into serious hit mode, so I'm not sure Xarnax is going to be able to make this up, because that is going to basically allow Sforzand0 to not worry about anything once he finds the last of the key items.
That is basically a damage level to which Xarnax is going to have to be over level 32 with that black belt to match or beat.
And Xarnax is making the play. He's into Mirage Tower. Let's see what it yields for him. First level floater. It is loose and it is in Mirage Tower. We have air flight incoming.
Well, now you just got to get it out of here. That's exactly what you want to see, because this is an unlikely location for your opponent to go to without having the cube or floater. And now Xarnax is going to be able to get to those other key items that were blocked. Well, Sforzand0, you just reset out of the Masamune. I guess it's not super urgent. You're going to be going through there later. But just don't forget where it is. Because as far as the endgame dungeon goes, you will absolutely want the Masamune over the Sun Sword. All day, every day. And twice on Thursday.
I definitely wonder if that is a case where he made up his mind that if he didn't find the key item, he was going to immediately head for other locations that could hold it, and knows that he can come back once he can clear the full dungeon and just pick that up along the way.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense as long as you remember where the Masamune is to pick it up. You don't need the Masamune to find the floater. And it looks like, unfortunately for Xarnax, that Sforzand0 is going to be able to get to Mirage, possibly even before Xarnax is able to get the airship.
Yep, it looks like Sforzand0 has done his process of elimination and has come to the correct conclusion.
Sforzand0 got off to a little bit better start than Xarnax did. The black belt being a little bit more fragile caused Xarnax to lose some early time. And then the Sea Shrine was just such a different experience for them. Sforzand0 was able to get through it, Xarnax was not, and took considerably more time to not get through it, unfortunately. But Xarnax will be the first one to find out what the fairy item is, and also the vendor item, because it should be for sale here. And it's the adamant. No, buy it. It's not the Excalibur. There you go. He was thinking, I don't need the Excalibur, but you already found that in the Mirage Tower anyways. So that is going to be something else, and could be the loot, could be the rod. But it won't be the TNT, because that's what the fairy has.
Well, that's convenient, because that'll let him do both turn-ins simultaneously in Dwarf Cave, so it will at least improve his routing for that particular check. And an Excalibur to go with the floater will allow him to not worry as much about that Masamune leaving behind until he just decides to pick it up whenever he finds the rod.
Sarda's going to give the tail, so now class change is a possibility. I wonder if Xarnax will actually do that.
With a black belt, I just don't see that tail being something he has any interest in at all, because he's going to need that magic defense gain for every level as he goes to get ready for the Temple of Fiends Revisited.
For Temple of Fiends Revisited, he's going to want it for the Gear 4. I think you leave it off as long as possible otherwise.
Yeah, I'm talking more for the leveling prior to going in there. He's going to want all that M defense gain that he can get up until the point he's ready to enter.
So Smith, he gave us the loot. Don't believe he turned in the TNT though. Which looks pretty likely to be the rod at this point.
I would agree.
So what have we found as our loose items so far?
Okay, so far we have found the floater loose and the canoe loose. We have also had the key from the king, the crystal from Princess Sarah, the ship from Matoya, the slab from Vicky, the crown came from the sages, which led us to the bottle on Astos. We got the tail from Sarda, the adamant was our vendor item, the ice cave held the canal, Ordeals held the herb, which we turned into the Prince of Elfland for the Oxyale, the robot had the chime, the fairy had the TNT, and we just got done seeing that the blacksmith of the dwarves held the loot.
The Sforzand0 is about to pick up his TNT, which is going to make a Dwarf Cave move extremely likely at this point. We are still missing the cube, so that is out there somewhere.
Yes, if I am counting my items correctly, it looks like we are going to have the potential of either a Lefane or a dwarf rod and cube. Looks like Sforzand0 got a little lost there, headed down towards Northwest Castle instead of up towards the Dwarf Cave.
It's easier to do than you might think, because it just involves taking different paths than you would normally take in the game. So sometimes you're not used to going from point Q to point F.
Oh, wow, the TNT led to the ruby, and we know that the ruby is not necessary, so we'll have to see if Sforzand0 decides to check those chests behind the Titan looking for those loose items.
It is actually necessary to be able to get to the treasures in Titan's Cave. We've also not seen the Cardia Islands here, and it looks like that's what Sforzand0 wants to do next. It's a lot of chests without encounters.
And with that TNT turn-in leading to the ruby, it looks like we are going to have either a rod or a cube as another loose item. So it looks like the loose items this seed are just going to be extremely important. We have already seen the floater and the canoe as loose items. And now we're going to have either the rod or the cube. So a lot of our movement ability and our dungeon completion has been hidden behind loose items.
Well, sometimes these dragons just get in the way. Oh, and Xarnax has gone to Marsh Cave. This was a chance for him to take a different path than Sforzand0 took. But lo and behold, he's going to take the key to Marsh Cave. I feel like this is a sort of a you feel behind play, and maybe something will be here that my opponent is not going to get.
Yeah, I also wonder if the floater coming so late has not thrown their equilibrium off a bit. It seems like they're taking some different routes than they would normally take and being a little more inefficient than I would expect from runners at the level that these two are.
So at this point, it looks like we're going to get Rod or Cube in Lefane, and I think that's going to determine which dungeon we dive next. You take whichever one you get.
Yeah, definitely the ability to full clear while looking for that last loose item I think is going to be extremely important. I am more likely to believe it's going to be the cube out of Lefane because we already saw first floor of Mirage, so you don't have as much of an option left there to get the cube before it would be required.
And that is the rod.
And that is the rod, so either we're going to find the cube in the very bottom of the Earth Cave, or we may be looking at a cube that's actually in Mirage on your way up.
Well, that is also going to enable him to get the Moss Immune. And then part of you has to question, would you give the Moss Immune to the Red Mage and leave Excalibur on the night?
I would certainly consider it at this point, at least for the majority of the run. I might be tempted to do some item switches right at the end of Temple of Fiends Revisited and give that big swing to my fighter, especially at the levels they're at, to make sure he can hit as hard as possible against the late bosses, Kraken 2, Tiamat 2, and Chaos.
I think there's no... Wow, there's the
Oh,
cube.
wow.
Right there. Ruby was required! Ruby was required!
Wow, that is twice in 2 days the Ruby has been required in one of these seeds. We are really having those unusual seeds this week, giving our runners as much challenge as possible.
I feel like Edge is going to tell me to autograph the Ruby. After he rolled that one the other night, this one was on me. Oh, how about that?
And that's the tail, so we can make up our mind what we want to do with that X-Cal now. Do we go do our class promotion and equip it right away, or do we just go ahead and go Earth Cave? It looks like we're headed for Bahamut.
without the black belt, he's got a lot more incentive to do the class change and try and get some spells on the knight. Also, the defense favors the class change and the ability to get Cure 4, possibly Warp and Exit. Just so many more advantages for Sforzand0. For Xarnax, when the black belt's gotta be able to absorb all the hits, you really need the levels and the magic defense that you get only with the black belt.
At some point, Trenton, as Xarnax, would you decide that you were feeling so behind that it was time to just get rid of that red mage until Temple of Fiends and try to just find anywhere you could possibly grind that black belt up as fast as you could?
It's kind of a shame he doesn't know about the Agama trap tile, although it wouldn't be as good for the black belt to do because you'd need 3 rounds to clear it out. Experience would be really good there. But without having the volcano cleared, he still theoretically is going to go there at some point. Yeah, I think if you're Xarnax, not only you're feeling behind at this point, I don't think there's a question of that. The way you make up time is by having a higher level black belt who can get through something that Sforzand0 is not getting through. So, I think you're looking at closer to a level 40 black belt going into Temple of Fiends Revisited if there's any way Xarnax can help it.
And there he is checking the Hall of Giants with 2 trap tiles to see if he can find a grind location. All he finds is Samurai and Wizard, so not great tiles there in the Hall of Giants.
There's a lot of trap tiles in Earth Cave that it's easy to forget that you've got 3 different ones over for the Hall of Giants. There's 2 before you get into the giant tiles, and then there's 2 different giant formations there. So you have to walk 2 different tiles to find them.
And it looks like Sforzand0's made the Inner Sea World Tour for all of his low-level white magics for that night, so he's really getting ready to dive that Mirage Tower.
Has the cube, basically total go mode here. I can't imagine he's gonna check chests. Only thing we're missing is dragon armor, I believe. And
I am definitely a little surprised that he didn't go ahead and make the Earth Cave run while he was in the area. But I guess he decided that with the class promote and the white magic that he'd just go ahead and knock this tower out ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, even trivial amount of experience that you might get Earth Cave, you want it all going onto the knight instead of the fighter. You're not looking at getting 4 spell charges now. It's not going to be enough fights to do that, but you could still get 2, so want to try and make that happen.
And what do you think he's still looking for, Trenton? We are continuing to open chests for Sforzand0.
That room is actually quasi-go mode. That takes so little time for that many treasure chests that as long as there's still something to benefit, it does make a certain amount of sense. But dragon armor is really it.
Ah, dragon armor. That would be something that I guess I could see, but I really have trouble even seeing the dragon armor because we know he's going to have at least level probably 32, 33 headed towards the end. And where we know the Mazmoon, we've got the X-Cal. I'm just very surprised that we're not just in pure go mode for Sforzand0.
If you had a ribbon and opal armor, that'd be one thing. But the extra defense, the physical defense, definitely matters when you're only dealing with 2 people. It's not make or break by any means, but it's absolutely valuable.
Now, we do have in this week's seed, we do have patrolling Warmech, so we'll have to see if anybody decides that Warmech is something that they really want to take down.
I think 32 plus Xarnax likely do it. I don't see Sforzand0 taking that fight on. There's a great deal of experience available killing Warmech, but you really don't want to risk the battle going multiple rounds. Xarnax just found the Moss Immune, which actually is worthy of equipping on the Black Belt until you're level 32. A lot of people don't think of that, but well, somewhere around 30 is the break-even point with Masa and the Bare Fists. But it takes 32 for Fists to be clearly superior. Of course, you could just skip on menuing until you get to the end.
Yep, Sforzand0 deciding not to need any fights there. He's headed straight for the Bridge of Destiny and on to Tiamat.
So, by the way, if you're enjoying Final Fantasy Randomizer, of course, there is plenty of head. We have more matches tomorrow throughout Speed Gaming and Randomania. So, please follow the Randomania family of networks, as there'll be plenty more Final Fantasy Randomizer to come. What was Xarnax just fighting? I didn't see it.
Xarnax just took down that nasty old vampire.
Sforzand0 has number 3.
Yep,
quick little friendly tour through the Earthcade. Sforzand0 will be headed to Amplifides.
Yeah, and Xarnax has finally decided to stop by and take the Cardia Island Scenic Tutor.
It's just a lot of stuff, and you need to find treasure chests still on his part, so it makes sense. Just the only thing he doesn't want to do is class change right now.
Yeah, and I think he's really going to come back to regret forgetting that TNT turn-in was a thing.
Actually, that Opal Armor reminds, I had forgotten that was there till I just saw Xarnax pick it up. If Sforzand0 has that, then Opal Armor plus Ribbon is going to be plenty without needing the Dragon Armor.
I believe Sforzand0 did full clear Cardia Island, so he should have it on his fighter. I will double check when I get a chance.
Yeah, when we see the menu, it's no big deal until then. It's just something you may not necessarily stop and put too much thought into when you see it. So, not everybody would take the time to pick it up. Defensively, very good armor. I also didn't see if Sforzand0 re-picked up the Moss Immune. Though I would think he did. It would feel really bad to not route that in. Now I'm going to use the rod to break the plate, and on the way to Lich. We don't need distractions, we don't need bats, we just need to get into a fight with Bing Dipper. Now Xarnax will grab the rod. Oh, I just realized something I didn't realize before. Remember, Xarnax already went to the Dwarf Cave and turned in the Adamant, but did not turn in the TNT, which we now know is the Ruby, which is required. So until he gets back to Dwarf Cave, he has no ability to find the cube.
Yep, and it looks like Sforzand0 decided he maybe felt a little behind, so he skipped going for that Mosmune, skipped getting sidetracked. He's headed straight for Lich, and I'm guessing straight after that into the Temple of Fiends Revisited.
I really think that's a case of he didn't remember which chest had the Mosmune. He just knew it was here. With no Power Gauntlet, I just don't think he passed on that. Even if it's just a few extra steps, you're going to take it. I don't think there is such a thing as too far out of the way from Mosmune if you have no Power Gauntlet. Alright, so now with class change, Sforzand0 comes to pick back some of these utility spells, the Fast, the Temper. Unfortunately, with Temper being on that level, it's just really not going to be very valuable. Because you're going to need at least 3 fasts. You got to have it for Chaos, for Tiamat 2, and for Kraken 2. But here we go, Sforzand0 has gone through the Time Warp and begins the dive to Temple of Fiends at 1 hour 39 minutes. With Excalibur, he's going to be able to make pretty simple work I would expect of the first 2 Fiends. Question is really going to be how he deals with the back half. What is in his favor is the levels that he has. Got a lot of swings of that weapon.
And he's got a lot of charge of those low-level spells, because remember, Fade was Red Wizard locked, so he's now got access to that at level 1, so he's going to have a lot of opportunity to use that.
1 hour and 40 minutes. Xarnax just found out how early he could have had a ribbon white shirt. And that's gotta be a bad feeling.
Yeah, that white shirt being there really could have changed that Kraken fight that he had so much trouble with earlier. It set him back a long ways.
And here Xarnax is about to find the Agamas, and I gotta assume this is where you get level 32. Maybe you don't, but you can one-punch these Agamas, and they're in abundant supply. This really seems like the place to do it.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but I do want to ask you, Trenton, what do you think? Do you, with the Mosmune on that Red Mage, do you go ahead and just stick with the 2-man and just take them both all the way up?
Well, he has no life spell. I guess you're just asking about 2. I don't think you're going to take the time to kill anybody off. If he's just going to go to 40, take out the Red Mage, but for just 32, I think you keep them both up.
Yeah, I was really considering trying to just find that grind tile and run that black belt to 40, because I would feel so far behind at 1 hour and 40 minutes with the orb situation that Xarnax is in.
Lich is down on Sforzand0's side. We have the first of the revisited fiends dealt with. To answer chat, Xarnax did get the Mosmune. He got it when he cleared it, because he's still looking for cube. So he's absolutely chest checking. Sforzand0 went through Earth and Go mode, is why he didn't get the Mosmune again.
Swinging away on Carry, and down goes Carry 2. So we're onto the water floor. We're about to see what Kraken 2 has in store for us tonight.
I really like the routing that Xarnax did here, knowing he was going to get the 2 Agama fights. So he planned that in. And apparently I'm off because Xarnax didn't finish the Earth Cave. So no, he does not have the Masamune. But again, should know where it is. All because Sforzand0 turned in the ruby. Makes such a difference in this seed. And just that party choice made a big difference from the beginning. Sforzand0 got to a little faster start and just feels like it snowballed in this one.
Yeah, the black belt just never found that one grind tile that Xarnax felt he could take to good effect early, and it just ended up crippling him.
A couple of great runners tonight. Hope you'll show them the love. Sforzand0 does all sorts of variety. Xarnax does a lot of these races for Final Fantasy. And hey, there's Toxic. I don't think we saw that back at Sea Shrine.
Yeah, with some of the AoE that they had available to them in that Thor hammer and stuff, I don't think the Wiz has got a whole lot of chance to make use of it.
Alright, the battle against Kraken 2. Having to do this is the downside of the 3-man strats. With a normal party, we would protect the fighter and move him down in formation. With just the 2-man strats, you really can't afford to do that, but you're relying on the extra durability of the fighter.
Oh, Kraken with nuclear. This could get interesting.
One nuclear, not all that scary, but you're worried that he's going to follow it up with another or with nuke.
Oh, and there's Tornado to back up the nuclear. We've got a decent skill and spell list on Kraken, it looks like.
With the ribbons, Tornado not so scary.
Oh no! The red mage goes down!
Well, that is horrible news. There's no way around that. But sometimes 1 is all you need. And what a 1 it is. Just feels really bad to have to do this power gauntlet.
Wow, no power gauntlet and no Masmune because we decided the X-Cal would be enough. This is going to be difficult.
And you hope the encounters on this floor are kind to you. So, white shirt versus defense sword. About half as effective on the evasion, so it would take about 6 of these to match what you do in 3 defense swords. But you don't have to get to max defense is the other thing. And it looks like Tiamato's weak enough that we don't have to worry about that, so whole day to win.
Yep, looks like Tiamat has ink and a couple other of those wonderful free round type skills, so we're going to just run right through Tiamat 2, it looks like, and we're going to be looking to see what Chaos has in store for Sforzand0 tonight.
This is a very high HP Tiamat, it seems. So very fortunate that it didn't come out with either high damage hits or some kind of nastiness on the skills. And here we go.
Entered the Chaos Chamber. 2,000 years in the past, time to get rid of the big bad.
Back at the Swiss rounds, the last tournament, we kept seeing people have to go in here with just the knight and find a way to pull it off. The good news for Sforzand0, this is a much higher level. The bad news, not quite as equipped. Doesn't have Vorpal, doesn't have Excalibur, does have the white shirt, so can bring that evasion up. And got Chaos down to 1 hit, which is good news, but that was a large hit.
Oh wow, we have fairly high absorb. We have 5 hits for 5 damage. We've broken out the Bane strats.
It's interesting, you can do that, it's only about a 3% chance, but with 5 hits, you've got 5 chances at a crit. I think I'd prefer hold A and try and get an RNG loop.
Looks like he decided to finish maxing out his evade to hope that Chaos just has no spells at all.
Kinda necessary. Oh, okay. It's Bane Sword now.
Wow,
Sword.
Did that slow 2 hit?
I believe it did. So there's really no other practical way.
Oh, and Chaos has Cure 4, so let's get those Bless RNGs in chat, because with the Bane strats, we're really looking for that RNG to give us its blessing for the night.
Sforzand0 may be on Team Roadhouse, but tonight he's got to use the Team 3 and 256 chance. Chaos is resistant to Bane, but he's not immune. It's a 3 and 256 chance of getting this to work. He's got the evade as such that he looks to be in great shape to have a lot of turns to get this Bane off.
And if the RNG is not in his favor and Chaos doesn't hit hard, this could be the ultimate in the turnaround for time, because all of this time, Xarnax is getting his dungeons completed and catching up.
The scary thing at this point would be the end of the spell list ends up turning up double nuke or something like that. But as long as things continue like this, time is on Sforzand0's side. It does not feel like a good position when you're in it. You don't know where the other runner is. You just know that you're not done yet, and you're relying on Bane to try and get you through the Chaos fight. Xarnax, meanwhile, has an orb restored. Finishes off Lich.
So now it's time for Xarnax to head to the top half of the world. We're looking for Sea Shrine and the Mirage Tower to get him closed out and ready to go into the Temple of Fiends Revisited.
The great news for Sforzand0 is seeing that Cure come up, because it doesn't matter with Bane that he does Cure. What it does tell you, though, is there's no nukes on the list. So the only thing that could hurt now is if something like a triple nuclear on the ability list, and we just haven't seen it somehow. But the RNG of this Chaos...
And Bane goes through! Chaos falls!
A big GG to Sforzand0. The only thing is he's got to reconnect to the SRL room to actually record his finish. He disconnected earlier in the race. So he has to get back in there to actually complete the run as far as SRL is concerned. But as far as we are concerned, we know that it is a GG. Sforzand0 finished 49 and change. So it was a 10-minute trek through that Temple of Fiends Revisited. And wow, what a way to finish.
Xarnax still hunting that last item that he's not going to find, because as we all know, that TNT turn-in is what led him through Ruby down to get the cube in the Titan's Trove. So we'll have to see how long it takes Xarnax to realize that's what he's missing.
Yeah, it's only 4 treasure chests, so it's really easy to forget, but he should hopefully remember that he's not yet turned in the TNT. Sforzand0, you may be on Team Roadhouse, but you had to rely on 3 and 256 tonight. And apparently the mic's not working, so Sforzand0 might have to restart Discord. Hopefully remember that
Why not?
he's not yet turned in the TNT.
Seems to fit with the
Nope,
theme.
I got this. Oh, there he is.
GG, Sforzand0.
Wow, what a seed.
So, as odd as this question is going to sound, how relieved were you when you saw Cure for the second time?
Oh, I was so relieved. Like, he's got no spell list. He's absolutely not using skills. And I got my evasion to where he wouldn't hit me. And his crit rate was not high enough to hit me either. So I knew, like, if he managed to get, like, a shot in there, I probably would have gone, like, 10 rounds of heal potions or something. But I was overjoyed when I saw a fairly weak spell list. And then I wondered who was going to 3 and 256 the other.
Well, you got a very good thing there. You went up to Gaia just like Xarnax did, but when Xarnax went back down, he turned in that adamant and turned around and left the dwarf cave. So he still does not know that TNT turned in as the ruby, and he still does not know where the cube is.
Yeah, that's crazy, because I usually hate checking the Welfare Queen. I mean, the Titan, but turns out Titan paid out this game.
Yeah, usually when it is a Titan that is required, it's because you're trying to get through that Titan to get to the Sage in the back corner. But Sarda wasn't the thing blocking you today. The Titan was actually hiding the item himself.
And it was funny because I knew when I checked Vampire Chest that I was like, I made a mistake, and I totally forgot I could have gone to Mirage. And I was wholly expecting him to go to Mirage like well before I did, because just for some reason I saw that I had the chime, but I was like, oh, I don't have the cube, I can't go there yet, when there's 18 chests there you can check.
Yeah, and on the note of your Earth Cave dive, when you went back in, you didn't stop by that chest for the Mosmune. Had you just decided that you felt behind and you were going to go with the X-Cal, or did you forget that it was there?
No, I was pretty satisfied with Excalibur, because I knew I was probably in for a solid minute going and getting that, because it's not just going over there and getting it, it's every encounter that you get in between there. And the encounter table's a little shaky after the second encounter, and so I figured I was gonna hit a nice chunky section just trying to go get it, and I figured, all right, Temper and Faster at 5, I'll be satisfied with those and move on. And unfortunately, my poor red mage just got absolutely whacked by Kraken.
Yeah, Kraken certainly decided that you did not need a red mage for the Chaos fight.
Thanks, Double Nuclear.
Was it double? We actually had a little hiccup there. I only saw the one.
Yeah, it was Nuclear, and then let's see here. It was either Ink. It was Ink.
It went.
Nuclear. Yeah, Ink. Yeah, Ink, Nuclear, Tornado, Nuclear, I think, or something. Whatever that third one was. It may have been Ink as the third one. I don't know.
Yeah, I knew I caught the Nuclear and the Tornado, and I looked away to check something and looked back, and your red mage was just falling over from the damage he took. Well, Sforzand0, you got yourself a nice trolley seed with that Mirage Tower floater. What was your thought process with the marsh dive there?
I forgot that I could go to Mirage Tower because I had the chime. I just assumed because I didn't have the cube that I couldn't actually go to Mirage Tower at all. And I had my thoughts backwards. And so by the time I cleared Sea and Waterfall, and I was talking to myself the whole time, I'm like, I've got Volcano done. I've got Ice Cave, Ordeals are checked, Waterfall, Sea, going through the checklist. And one of the last places I didn't check was the 3 chests in Temple of Fiends that are key locked. Usually skip those, but it was like, okay, well, I'm down to my last few. It's either here or Marsh or Earth Cave, and I don't like the early Earth dive. I know some people do, and I found a ribbon down there, which is really nice, but I usually don't like the early Earth dive. And so it was like, well, Marsh it is, and it came up with the Sun Sword, which made me really happy because it was like, oh, yeah, finally have a weapon. I'm cleaving Carrie with a silver axe, and Kraken got bracked, and it was a fairly lucky seed. I mean, surviving by the skin of my teeth in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and that was your first brack spell for Kraken, wasn't it? Just an automatic boom dead?
Yeah, it took me, I think, a few rounds on Tiamat to do it, but Kraken, I think, was first turn brack.
Well, it was first cast of brack, but you spent like 3-4 rounds setting it up.
Well, yeah, because that's one of the things that I'm still, even though I'm playing 2-man strats, I'm fairly conservative, and I really did, I was like, okay, well, we're doing this 2-man thing. They're both going to be like in the 30s before I finish this thing, and I mean, I had no thoughts at all about resurrecting the 2 dead, the Black Belt and the Thief. I had no thoughts about resurrecting them.
Well, it seemed like in this one, the fighter just got started a little stronger. You went up to that first Temple of Fiends chest, picked up a silver axe, and honestly, however small that may have been, it kind of felt like that started the momentum in your direction.
Yeah, because once I started putting a few levels behind it, because I think I went to carry at 18, and I'm like, well, Silver Axe it is. And so I was like, all right, let's load up some invises. Let's try and push the Silver Axe through. And it just barely got through. I think Fighter had like 42 hit points or something like that when I finished that.
Yep, your fighter was down to one knee in the 40s. I really questioned it, but you got first hit that last turn, and the last 85 damage you did took carry down.
And I was like, all right, well, this is going my way. And it went my way pretty much all the way till I made the mistake of going to Mirage Tower last. And I was like, well, now I'm behind. And fortunately, you know, I guess the breaks just went in my favor. Temple of Fiends was fairly nice until double Nuclear Kraken, but even then, Tiamat was friendly. Chaos was really...
Yeah, that is one thing. The Mirage Tower with that extended open progression where you get that dock below the desert is one of those things that just has a tendency to trip some people up.
Yeah, ironically, it wasn't the dock, because, like, I mean, I've been playing long enough to know the docks there. It was the fact that I think I got either Cube and Chime, like, reversed in my head, or that I just assumed you couldn't enter the whole dungeon without both. I think something in my mind was just like, nope, can't go there.
Ah.
So for Xarnax, the hunt for this cube continues. He just unfortunately does not remember that he never turned in the TNT. He went back to Dwarf to turn in Adamant, having both, but stopped after just turning in the Adamant. And now he's back in Sea Shrine, where he knows he did not complete this dungeon. He did wipe out to Kraken.
But I think he full cleared all the treasures in it on his way to Kraken, so I'm not sure what he's looking back in here for, unless he thinks he may have incidentally skipped one on his way through earlier.
Well, and that is going to be enough for Xarnax. I guess he thought that perhaps he missed one here, and he came back to look.
All right, we'll see here in a second if Xarnax is going to join us. Sforzand0, did you have any other thoughts on the seed while we're looking for that?
I mean, I guess if you force it enough times, it has to go through, right?
Yeah, that 3 and 256. I mean, good grief. It has to happen sometime, and we got to watch it in action tonight.
Xarnax, it was a good effort, a lot of fortunate things tonight, but the answer is Narek, the TNT.
Oh.
Ruby was required, and then you had to go to Titan's Cave for the cube.
Oh, okay. So Narek had the ruby, and then
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So, Xarnax, other than that, any other thoughts about this interesting seed we had tonight?
I mean, it was a wild ride. I felt like it was a mix of bad luck and really poor decision making. There were a bunch of things that I kept forgetting about, and then, like, when I was in the middle of Earth Cave, I remembered. I think that's when I remembered that I had completely forgotten Cardia Islands. The flags themselves, right before the race, I said I hope I don't lose to flag confusion, and I think it was more losing track than flag confusion. I knew that I hadn't talked to Eric, so I would say I didn't. But yeah, it was definitely a lot to keep track of, and I didn't do a great job.
Well, I don't know if you'll be happy to know, or maybe it gives you some sort of comfort, but I had to Bane Chaos.
Wow. That's well, I don't know, because my plan was to like from the beginning was to get my black. I ran a 2-man party, black belt, red mage, and I had planned, if I had found a good place to grind, I would have gotten my black belt up to 42. But there were so many bad unrunnables. I mean, I took so many unrunnables, especially in Sea Shrine. That was the worst. So I don't know if they told you about my Sea Shrine. I probably spent 20 minutes in there taking a million unrunnables, and so I had to keep my red mage alive while I was exploring. And so I think by the time I came out of that, I was right around 30 and 30. And then I got to a Kraken, and I must have been, I was really close to killing him, and then he knocked out my black belt. So at that point, I felt really behind, which is why I started going to places like Marsh and Earth without the rod.
Yep, I did both of those.
Yeah, we had dueling 2-man strats, but we chose different people for our 2-mans. We had a black belt red mage and a fighter red mage. So it was very interesting to watch. It was dual strats.
Yeah, so you missed double nuclear Kraken. And so that's kind of why I had to bang Chaos. Chaos had like stupid absorb, and then slow 2 landed on me, and I was only hitting for 5. And then probably 3 out of 4 chance of casting a spell, and he had Cure 4 on his list. So I was not meleeing him down under any circumstances, even with a Power Gauntlet. I mean, I guess I could have built up enough to one-shot him, but I never found it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Power Gauntlet must have been in Sky. Because I'm pretty sure I checked every chest that wasn't cube blocked. So here's a question. I'm guessing my understanding was wrong based on how many times it happened. Pro Ring does not protect from crack. Is that correct?
Pro Ring only protects you from the death element. And so I think crack is either earth or non-elemental. I can't remember. No, it's not.
Time? No, Zap is time. Huh. Okay. That makes sense. Because, yeah, several Kizokus killed my black belt, and I had the Pro Ring on, and the first time it happened, I didn't think it was possible. Then it happened a couple more times, and I figured I must have been mistaken.
Yeah, your luck on the ocean, Xarnax, was just terrible. You ran into those Kioskus so many times, and they kept just cracking away like it was nothing else in their list.
Yeah, it was a really interesting. It was a fun seed. I really like. I like key items in loose chests. I don't like it when you need to. You know exactly where everything, like all the key stuff is, and then you need to decide whether or not you want to hunt for items. I like being able to find them both at the same time.
Well, I think it's about time to wrap this up. So, Xarnax, guess we'll start with you. Any other thoughts on this one?
Not off the top of my head. GG's Sforzand0. That was a rough one, and yeah, sub 2 hours is a pretty decent time on this one for the amount of back and forth. Yeah.
All right, Sforzand0, do you have any final thoughts for us this evening?
I just want to shout out to my teammates and Team Roadhouse, getting another win, bagging it in. Roadhouse.